It is NFL trade palooza. Ever since Myles Garrett came out and requested a trade, the Rams have informed Cooper Kupp that they are looking to trade him immediately, and I want to discuss the possibility of the Broncos trading for Cooper Kupp and or Myles Garrett as well. But we got the news from Cooper Kupp himself. We hardly ever get a player coming out and just informing everyone that they are going to get traded because the Rams told him they are looking to trade him immediately. I do think the timeline is important here because if a team trades for Myles Garrett, well, they're not going to be in the mix for trading for Cooper Kupp after giving up all those picks. So the Rams definitely have a little bit of urgency to get a trade done before teams either start spending in free agency at wide receiver or they trade for other players and they're like, hey, we have no more picks left to trade for. We have to use our remaining picks for the draft. My initial reaction to a lot of Broncos country suggesting let's trade for Cooper Kupp, I'm not itching to trade for Kupp. I'm not against the idea. I'm not saying it would be an awful decision to trade for Kupp, but I am not the flag bearer of bring Cooper Kupp to Denver. That to me seems like a little bit of living in the past. It's been 4 years, ladies and gentlemen, since Cooper Kupp got to 1,000 yards and was the Triple Crown winner for the LA Rams. 1,900 yards, 145 receptions, 16 touchdowns. 3 straight years of missing a considerable amount of time. The lack of availability is my greatest concern. Now, in Kupp's tweet, which was a little bit lengthy, he happened to mention that this past training camp was the best training camp yet, and he's feeling as healthy as ever. So we have officially entered best season best shape of life season. That's what I'm looking to spit out. Kupp turning 32 years old in June is sneaky old for, when he kind of broke out as a player right before he turned 30 from a third-round pick out of Eastern Washington. All-time NFL trivia right there where Cooper Kupp went to college. But the financial side of things are important. He's got very little guaranteed money left on his deal. So his base salary, which is what a team is acquiring. Anytime you see a player potentially getting traded, by the way, and you rush to Spotrac to see, hey, what would be the cost to acquire them from a money side of things, don't look at the cap hit. That is not what a team is absorbing. They are absorbing the base salary. And any other bonuses, signing bonuses, workout bonuses, all that gets combined. So for Kupp, it's $20 million, which is what a team just has to pay him in cash, and $19.8 million in 2026. But very little money here is guaranteed. So a team acquiring Cooper Kupp could say, hey, we're going to trade for you, but we want to give you a new one-year contract, which we often see done. Stephon Diggs did that when he got dealt from Buffalo to Houston. But the lack of availability is something that I just can't seem to move on from. He's missed basically 1/3 of games over the last 3 seasons. So if you're giving up a good draft pick for him, the expectation is he plays a lot of football. And you only have yourself to blame if he ends up missing 1/3 of the season and you gave up a 4th or 3rd round draft pick for the guy. I don't think he's going to go for a 3rd, but a 4th seems to be the highest asking price out there. We'll review Denver's draft capital for 2025. They got a 1st, a 2nd, a 3rd, a 4th. No 5th. That belongs to Miami for the Bradley Chubb trade. And then 3 6th-round draft picks. That's what I have them down for now. Maybe I missed a 7th or something, but I think I got every pick here. So I'm not interested in moving on from any picks on the left-hand side of the screen if I'm the Broncos. For me, I would make it pretty cut and dry. Cooper Kupp for one of our 3 6th-rounders. It's not a great haul for the Rams, but they move on from his contract. And for Kupp, he lands in a spot where you've got a rising quarterback in Bo Nix. You've got offensive guru in Sean Payton. This could be a win-win-win for all parties. The Broncos acquire a good veteran receiver to help Bo Nix develop even more in year number 2. Put him in the slot, which is where they do need some help in the receiver department. Sutton plays the X position quite nicely. He's a boundary outside guy. Marvin Mims is kind of being used as a gadget. He's not a solely, slot receiver. They'll put him in the backfield at times. I think Kupp in the slot would be a great fit for him. And then for the Rams, sure, they're not getting a great return, but they are getting his contract off their books. So let me know, would you trade for Cooper Kupp? Give me a yes or no in the comment section below. I would be fine with trading for Kupp if it's for a 6th-round draft pick. If it doesn't work out, Worst case scenario, you lose a 6th-round draft pick. To me, that's not so inconsequential. Now, you also likely don't pursue other wide receivers in free agency. Maybe you were going to go after T. Higgins, but since you traded for Cooper Kupp, you don't bark up that tree anymore. That should also be factored in, but that is, 2 steps down the road, and we can't just assume the Broncos were going to do that. My guess is that Cooper Kupp ends up getting released. The Rams have said they are looking to trade him immediately, meaning if they don't get any good offers in the near future, they do not want to hold on to Cooper Kupp going into free agency. They want to probably do right by him, release him, give an opportunity for him to sign somewhere else. Whereas if they hold on to him through June, July, and into August, and no one's calling and no one wants to trade for him, they're going to release him, and every team will have signed a wide receiver at that point, and he's not going to be a prize pick. So my suspicion is Kupp is going to end up getting released. You can see the numbers if he is a post-June 1 designation. The Rams can save $15 million against the cap. They would take on about $22-ish million in dead money, but they can spread that out over 2025 and 2026. Overall, this just screams to me DeAndre Hopkins 2.0. Remember when the Cardinals were looking to trade Hopkins and there were no buyers and everyone thought he'd end up maybe in Denver or somewhere else? What ends up happening? Arizona just bites the bullet and releases him. They don't get anything for him, but they just move on altogether, and he's signed to the Titans. If I had to put money down, it's not that the Broncos are going to trade for Kupp. It's that Kupp is going to get released, and then we'll see where he ends up signing. Before we talk about Myles Garrett and Cooper Kupp coming over, because I do want to explore the possibility of the Broncos trading for Kupp and why it could be a great move, make sure you are joining the channel by clicking that subscribe button down below. We have seen in a 12-hour span how quickly things can move in the NFL, so I don't want you in the dark when it comes to Broncos trade rumors over the offseason, and you won't be when you are a part of the Broncos breakdown. Now, next up on the show, I'm going to make the case for trading for Kupp, because the first half of the video, you could probably tell just by me outwardly saying what my thoughts are on trading for Cooper. But I do want to look at both sides and so give the case for why it would make sense for Sean Payton to pursue the Rams wide receiver. Before we get any further, though, I do have to give a big special shout out to our friends over at Game Time. Game Time has this awesome feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. You see, Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats. You can filter by city, so you can filter, say Denver, and then see what deals are going on for an Avs game that night, or a Nuggets game, or a concert, a comedy show, or any other event in your area. So do yourself a favor right now and take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. I put all that information for you guys down below in the comments and description of today's video. So make sure you check out Game Time today. It's a great way to save some money before going to your next Avs, Nuggets, or even Rockies game in a few weeks. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. So now let's check out why the Broncos should pursue Kupp. After spending the first half of the video going over why I don't think it's the best idea, but I'm not going to be upset. I don't think this would be a disaster move, you know what I mean? There are some pros to it. I mean, let's quickly review Kupp's last 4 seasons because I talked about the lack of availability. But what I am noticing is when Kupp is on the field, he's still a productive receiver. The guy had 6 touchdowns in 12 games this year, 710 yards, 67 receptions. 2023, he's playing at a very similar level. 737 yards, 5 touchdowns in 12 games. So I broke out the calculator and I looked at his 2024 stats, and if you were to prorate them over a 17-game season, we're talking about a nearly 100-yard grabs, 1,000 yards, 8 touchdowns. This is still a productive receiver when healthy. So if Denver wants to make the bet that they can get close to 17 games out of Kupp, they're going to get a productive receiver. And looking at Denver's wide receiver room here, Sutton has one more year left on his contract, so you'd have 2 veteran receivers helping Devon Vele, Marvin Mims, Troy Franklin develop, but at the same time, we have to acknowledge, I wouldn't just say stunting their development, but taking some snaps away from those younger players. So while I do think there are plenty of pros to the idea of trading for Kupp, I am willing to bet on those young receivers to make a big impact in years 2 and 3 of their career. I'm excited to see what Marvin Mims, Devon Vele, and Troy Franklin can grow and blossom into. Because keep in mind, Cooper Kupp was one of those guys at the start of his career. He was a bit of a late bloomer. So imagine if the Rams never gave Kupp the runway to develop because they brought in some veteran receiver. It's worth mentioning. Now, it's also worth looking at what this Broncos roster could look like if they acquire Kupp. And let's toss in Myles Garrett too. I don't think it's one or the other. Kupp's not going to cost you very much in a trade. Sure, you have to make some financial space, but you've got a rookie quarterback, which means you've got him on his rookie deal. And it's tough to not foam at the mouth of the idea of Bo Nix dropping back, maybe handing the football off to Caleb Johnson out of Iowa with their second-round pick, and throwing to Kupp and Sutton out wide with Myles Garrett and Pat Surtain leading the defense. That is a fun roster. You can't deny it. Even if it's a little bit of a Madden roster, that's a roster that George and Sean Payton might go, we have the possibility of creating that in a 1 to 2 week span by making 2 trades. The only thing stopping us is us right now. I don't think this Broncos regime is going to sit back. Ownership has shown they are willing to spend and create any roster this coaching staff desires to get wins on the field. And so if the coaching staff feels like we can do this because we have the support of our ownership to make these high-level blockbuster moves, to pay out these big contracts, to give Garrett a big fat contract extension. If you've got support from above, Sean Payton has shown an aggressiveness in his tenure with the Saints and even when to start the Broncos, their first free agency together, going out and making a handful of big splash signings. This is not a front office and ownership group to rule out when it comes to high-profile moves. So pick a trade for me. Would you rather have Myles Garrett or Cooper Kupp? Very different levels of trades. One's going to cost you 2 to 3 premium draft picks. First, second, third, some combination of that. The other one's 32 years old or going to be 32 years old, and I don't think it's going to cost you all that much. So this is more of a safer route, but this is the 2023 Defensive Player of the Year. Hard to pass on that. If it were up to me, I would probably pursue the Cooper Kupp path first. The Broncos just led the NFL in sacks. I think they can make do without having Garrett, although he would be more than just a cherry on top. He's a game wrecker. But I think Kupp, for what it would cost to get him, I'd rather see the investment made with the picks you'd use on Garrett on the offense, and you bring over a savvy slot veteran receiver for Bo Nix. All right, that's going to do it for us on today's episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure to subscribe down below if you have not already, and I'll see everyone tomorrow.